So, Rick, you wrote a blog article recently that kind of caught my attention. It's talking about training. Training is something we do, and I don't necessarily remember the tail end of that, but it was kind of a catchy title.
Well, I think that, in many ways, like people look at training as an event, and yeah, all right, it's, for us, right, it's sort of the initial event. I always call like our boot camp, right? The initial training is our Daytona 500, where we unpack the entire, Sandler selling methodology, behavior, attitude, and technique. But that's the event. Our job really, if we're in the professional development space, is to create an ecosystem. An ecosystem of professional development that is, first of all, it's easy to access.
Sure.
It's reinforceable because that's the secret sauce, right? I mean, we can teach somebody, in a boot camp, how to utilize questioning techniques. But the reality is that's the training event. We know that training event is impactful through reinforcement when it starts to show up in everyday behavior.
Sure.
And so the final thing in that, the ecosystem has to be supported by sales leadership. And so this can't be an event where people send their salespeople into Sandler training. And, oh, by the way, Rick and Rob are now, glorified babysitters. So, it's about the ecosystem. It's not about the event.
Yeah, and you said something interesting about, not your words, my words, but ongoing reinforcement piece. Like, why is that so critical?
Well, I mean, learning something takes time, right? We can know something, but applying it is probably the most important thing. I mean, an organization is going to spend time, money, and resources in professionally developing their people, right? Professionalizing their sales organization, let's just say. It just doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes time. It takes people getting out of their comfort zone. It takes people to understand, what the possibilities are in the sales conversation. And I've always said that. You've heard me say this before when, Sandler came into my world. What it taught me was the options that I actually had inside the sales conversation. I actually had some rights because, once Sandler got done with me, I realized I was no longer, some self-serving, used car salesman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And the ability to get into the batting cage or the practice green, right? And be able to interact with other professionals. And I think kind of the cool part from my vantage point is you can have people from varying industries, varying roles, but when you peel back the onion, they all have very similar issues.
When a salesperson is under live fire and their mind is moving, really, really fast, and they're trying to remember all the stuff that Rob and Rick are teaching in their sales mastery program. How does one get comfortable in their own skin to be able to take the concepts and the theories and not just know them, but take them and apply them as if it was, just routine behavior?
Well, I think, and you raise an interesting question because we get asked this pretty consistently. Hey, Rick, how long is this going to take? How long will it take? When did you master this? And I know what my answer to that question is, right? And my go-to answer is I'll let you know when I do.
Yeah,
right.
We're all on the journey.
We are, and I think that to me is tying back into your thought around your article. It's not an event, right? This is an ongoing reinforcement piece that becomes part of us. And the more that people can practice, not only in their professional environment, but their personal environment. Sandler's a communication tool for us to have better conversations. Absolutely.
And I think about like that, and full disclosure, I've got that from you, right? Training is just something we do. And I don't know if you remember this, but, when we first partnered maybe 10 or so years ago, you kept saying that over and over. Training is just something we do. And I kept scratching my head while it felt kind of good, right? It sounds pretty good. But I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, if training is just something we do, what really do we do? And, over the years, I've just come to the conclusion that we really provide, a professional development ecosystem. That ecosystem does consist of single event training, right? We onboard people in a boot camp, right? We upload the knowledge, the concepts, the theories, but the reality is the ecosystem is application meetings, private application meetings where we can get with organizations in real deal flow conversations. It's also part of, you'd mentioned the peer-to-peer sales mastery sessions that we run. The peer-to-peer is awesome because people learn that other people in their industries have the same common thread issues. We're all looking for the same thing. We all transact money for products and services. So finding new clients or getting people to move from point A to point B or within the pipeline is always a common thread issue. And so AI role play has really kind of been a little bit of a linchpin. And obviously there's, in today's world, AI is very, very relevant. So when we start to sink our teeth back into, the training event, I fundamentally believe that, from a Sandler perspective, what we do has to be easily consumed. It has to be reinforced and it has to be supported by leadership. And I believe that when we think about that ecosystem of, the boot camp, to upload, we think about private application meetings working in real deal flow. We think about reinforcement in peer-to-peer environments and repetition using AI role play tools. And maybe sprinkle in some coaching, right? It's always nice to talk to a live person, Rick or Rob. But when we start to think about that, organizations and individuals can start and pick and choose their journey. What makes sense for them?
Right.